She also, I guess, been bouncing around from hotel to hotel, apartment to apartment, whatever the case may be. So he ended up putting her in the house too. Well, he come home the other day and Moneybagg Yo in the house. And why Moneybagg Yo in the house? Because Moneybagg Yo is the father of her toddler, allegedly. He also said that she called the police. She ain't called the police on Moneybagg Yo, she called the police on him, the man who put her in the house and got her a car.
Moneybagg Yo was recently caught in a wild situation after his baby mama's boyfriend found him hiding in the house following an alleged cheating scandal. Apparently, the rapper was so shaken up that he refused to step outside until the police actually showed up on the scene. Carson Henson even went live with the receipts, claiming he's been dropping $2,400 a month on private school tuition for Moneybagg's daughter, while the rapper himself has been dodging his fatherly duties. When Carson caught them together, Moneybagg reportedly wouldn't even face him. Man, we've seen the screenshots where Carson vents about her having the nerve to call the cops to a house where he's the one paying the bills. Now, everyone thought Moneybagg was the loyal type while with Ari Fletcher, but the reality seems a lot messier. This man has allegedly been running a whole operation behind the scenes, all while rumors swirl about her being linked to Offset, Lil Baby, and others. The situation with Carson didn't just expose a side piece, it showed how some of these industry dudes really move when they think the cameras are off. To understand how Moneybagg Yo ended up stuck in another man's house and too scared to walk out the front door, we have to look back at how this entire mess started brewing. Trust me, this story has layers that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about street loyalty. Let's rewind back to the 2019 and 2020 era. During that time, Moneybagg Yo was publicly building his high-profile relationship with Ari Fletcher, but behind the scenes, he was still secretly seeing his baby mama, Ouch Bossy. At the time, she was reportedly struggling, driving rental cars for 2 straight years while her baby daddy was out here gifting Rolls Royces to other women. This is where Carson Henson, the CEO of the PuppyMate app, enters the picture. Carson saw Ouch Bossy's situation and stepped in to provide a complete lifestyle upgrade. We're talking a new car, covering house payments, and paying for private school tuition. Carson wasn't just a random guy. He had built a legitimate business from the ground up and was bringing in serious money. To really get the full picture, you have to understand how Moneybagg Yo handles his family dynamics. According to various T pages and social media deep dives, the rapper has at least 8 or 9 children with several different women. The word is that most of them are left struggling while he focuses all his resources on whoever his main girl happens to be at the moment. This is a crucial detail because it shows a clear pattern in how he operates. He allegedly manages multiple situations simultaneously while his main girl, Ari, has been tied to cheating rumors with other rappers. Remember when word got out about her and Offset while he was still married to Cardi B? Moneybagg's move was to buy her a brand new house. Then, when rumors about Lil Baby started circulating, she suddenly received a $700,000 Rolls-Royce Cullinan for Valentine's Day. This toxic dynamic had been brewing for years, before Carson finally reached his breaking point and exposed the truth. The timeline reveals that Moneybagg's daughter with Ouch Bossy is now around 3 years old, meaning she was born right in the middle of his high-profile relationship with Ari. So, not only was he cheating, but he was also fathering children on the side. The tension really began to escalate around 2022 when Carson started fully funding Ouch Bossy's life. According to his own social media posts, which were quickly screenshotted and shared across every gossip blog, Carson was covering her monthly rent of over $1,200 and shelling out $2,400 a month for private school tuition at an elite academy. He also handled her car payments after she had been stuck in enterprise rentals for years, along with her clothes, lifestyle expenses, groceries, and utilities. Essentially, Carson was taking care of everything that Moneybagg Yo should have been handling as the biological father. However, it seems Moneybagg simply wasn't interested in that level of responsibility. According to multiple sources from Tasha K's platform and various gossip pages, Moneybagg Yo barely acknowledged the child publicly and certainly wasn't providing financial support on that level. He was seemingly too preoccupied with funding Ari's lavish lifestyle while his own daughter was left struggling. The tension spiked when Carson started posting subtle hints on social media about men who don't take care of their kids yet expect others to step up. Little did he know, Moneybagg was still sliding through whenever he felt like it, essentially treating Carson's financial investment like his own personal playground. According to insiders who have been tracking this since 2022, neighbors began noticing cars showing up more frequently when Carson was away tending to his business. That is some serious disrespect, right there waiting for the man to leave, just so you can play house in the home he pays for. Things really escalated when Ouch Bossy started getting a little too comfortable. She was living rent-free, driving a car she didn't pay for, with her daughter's education fully covered and a closet full of designer clothes, yet she still kept her baby daddy on speed dial whenever she wanted some excitement. But here's where it gets real. Carson wasn't just some random guy with money. According to those close to the situation, he actually had genuine feelings involved. He was treating this woman's child like his own daughter, showing up to school events, helping with homework, and investing real time and energy into the family, thinking he was building something authentic. According to witness accounts from the neighborhood and several deleted screenshots, Moneybagg Yo started coming around much more frequently in late 2023 and early 2024. Maybe he was feeling a certain way about another man handling his responsibilities. Or maybe he just wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Social media eventually caught wind of the drama when Carson began posting cryptic messages about ungrateful people and men who don't handle their business. People in the comments were starting to ask questions, but nobody had the full story quite yet. By early 2024, the situation was a powder keg ready to explode. You had Carson paying all the bills, thinking he was in a committed relationship, Moneybagg Yo acting like he had visitation rights to the house whenever he pleased, and ouch bossy caught in the middle, playing both sides like it was some kind of game. Fast forward to that fateful day in February 2024. Carson had been out handling his business like a responsible man, likely under the impression that his home was secure and his woman was staying faithful. But that's not even the craziest part yet. On February 15th, just 2 days after Carson had gifted, ouch, bossy, a brand new car, his entire world was flipped upside down. He returned home from work expecting a normal evening, but instead, he found Moneybagg Yo's unmistakable vehicle parked outside like he owned the place. According to the detailed Instagram post from Carson that eventually broke the internet, here is the minute-by-minute breakdown of how it went down. Carson pulled up to the house around 6:30 p.m. and immediately recognized the car. Now, any man would be heated in that situation, but Carson initially tried to handle it like a gentleman. He walked inside only to find Moneybagg Yo posted up comfortably in the living room, acting like it was his own spot. In Carson's exact words, "I'm just trying to figure out what Moneybagg Yo was doing at a house where I pay the bills. I understand you and ouch bossy have a baby together, champ, but don't disrespect the house where I'm taking care of everything." Carson told Moneybagg straight up that if he wanted to see his daughter while he was in town, that was fine, but he needed to do that at his hotel, on his tour bus, or anywhere else. He pointed out that he had just bought this girl a car 2 days prior, yet she had the nerve to pull a move like having another man in the crib, baby father or not. But here's where things get absolutely wild. Moneybagg Yo refused to leave. We're talking about a grown man, a millionaire rapper, being told to exit someone else's property, and essentially saying, "Nah, I'm comfortable here." By this point, Carson was getting more heated by the minute. For him, it wasn't just about the disrespect, it was a total violation of his space. He had been funding this woman's entire lifestyle for over a year and treating her daughter better than her own father ever did. Now, he's standing in his own home with the biological father acting like he runs the place. The tension peaked when Carson made it crystal clear that he wasn't asking anymore. It was time for Moneybagg to go. But according to the receipts posted online and confirmed by multiple sources, Moneybagg Yo wasn't interested in a man-tam confrontation. Here are Carson's exact words on what happened. "Next, this girl has the nerve to call the police to a house where I'm paying the bills, just because there's a ninja in there. It's a crazy situation. Outru Bossy has the police involved for a man who won't even publicly claim her or her child, all because he's refusing to step out of the house." Just let that sink in. Instead of handling things like men, the authorities were called, leading to a plot twist that had social media absolutely losing its mind. It wasn't even Carson who made the call. It was Ouch Bossy herself who dialed 911 on the man paying all her bills, just to protect the man who hadn't been doing anything for her or their child. According to Carson's version of events, which was backed up by neighbors who witnessed the whole thing, Ouch Bossy called the police because Moneybagg Yo was too intimidated to step outside and face Carson directly. Can you imagine being so shaken up that you need a police escort just to leave someone else's house? For a rapper who constantly talks about being tough, that's not exactly gangster behavior. It's straight up embarrassing. The police arrived around 7:15 p.m. to find a bizarre scene. The man who pays every single bill was standing outside his own home, while the man who contributes nothing was hiding inside, refusing to come out. To make matters worse, the woman caught in the middle chose to protect the wrong person. Carson later posted, "I'm out here funding this girl's entire life, everything she has from head to toe. I'm putting this man's daughter through a private school that costs $2,400 a month, paying the rent, and I even got her a car because she'd been stuck driving rentals for 2 years. And your baby daddy is Moneybagg Yo. Make this make sense to me." But the story doesn't even end there. This was the moment Carson decided he was completely done playing games and went full nuclear on social media. After the police situation was resolved and Moneybagg Yo finally left with his tail between his legs, Carson shifted into full-blown social media warfare. This man had receipts for everything, and he wasn't holding back anymore. The investigation Carson conducted into his own relationship revealed some wild details that left the internet shook. He posted the car dealership receipt with the caption, "I don't need advice from anyone who doesn't live my life. Respectfully, if you see my truck somewhere, let me know, please." He followed that up with daycare receipts, adding, "I'm paying daycare bills that are more than some of y'all's rent. I'm not trying to hear it from y'all." On the streets and across social media, the consequences were immediate and brutal for everyone involved. The hip-hop community started picking sides fast, and most people weren't siding with Moneybagg Yo or Ouch Bossy. Major platforms like Tasha K, Urban Bell, and countless gossip pages went in on Moneybagg, exposing the whole mess for the world to see. Comments were flooding in from verified accounts and everyday fans alike, all calling out what they saw as weak behavior. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. "How are you going to need police protection just to leave another man's house? That's not gangster, that's embarrassing." Moneybagg Yo's street reputation took a massive hit. Here's a rapper who talks tough in every track about handling business and being about that life. Yet when confronted by a regular businessman, he needed a police escort to get out safely. That massive gap between his public image and the reality of the situation was exposed in the worst way possible. The situation got even messier when Ouch Bossy tried to clap back. According to circulating screenshots, she claimed Carson was on the down low and even alleged she had a restraining order against him. She posted, "That old dude is just mad because he found out he—" You know what? You can have that back. I have a restraining order on you. You're going off over rumors. You're a damaged, dangerous type of man. However, social media wasn't buying her explanation at all. The comment sections were flooded with people calling her ungrateful, disloyal, and worse, people were rightfully asking how someone could disrespect the very person who was treating their child better than the biological father ever did. Meanwhile, the fallout created major tension back home with Ari Fletcher. Here was her man, caught at another woman's house, refusing to leave, and needing a police escort to get out safely. Instead of addressing the elephant in the room, they both publicly acted like nothing had happened. However, the internet doesn't forget or forgive that ice. Multiple blogs broke down the timeline, highlighting how Moneybagg and Ari's relationship seems to operate in a toxic cycle, one where cheating is rampant, but expensive gifts are expected to smooth everything over. By the time the legal dust settled, Carson had completely cut off all financial support and walked away from the relationship. The consequences for Ouch Bossy were immediate. She lost her apartment, had to return the car, and her daughter was pulled out of private school because the tuition was no longer being paid. The restraining order only made things sadder, as it meant Carson could no longer check on the child he had spent over a year raising as his own. That little girl went from having stability and a real investment in her future to being back in an uncertain situation, all because the adults involved couldn't act right. As for Moneybagg Yo, the primary outcome was massive reputational damage. And in the rap game, your reputation is everything. When you're labeled as the rapper who was too intimidated to leave another man's house without a police escort, that reputation follows you everywhere. The situation with Carson changed the public's perception of these industry relationships forever. It exposed the harsh reality of how some rappers treat their baby mamas, neglecting their own children while dropping massive amounts of money on women who don't necessarily respect or stay faithful to them. Moneybagg Yo's legacy took a permanent hit from this instant stain that still impacts how he's viewed today in 2024. The streets don't forget moments like that, and social media certainly won't let it go. In fact, the internet had a field day. Twitter was flooded with memes about needing police protection just to walk out of a house. And TikTok videos went viral breaking down the timeline and exposing how common this behavior is in the industry. Instagram posts comparing Carson's maturity to Moneybagg's cowardice racked up hundreds of thousands of likes. One viral TikTok with over 2 million views even did the math. Between the $2,400 monthly tuition, the $1,200 rent, the car, clothes, and food, Carson Izelli invested over $50,000 into a child that wasn't even his own while the biological father was out here buying Rolls Royces for other women. The hip-hop community learned some harsh lessons about loyalty, respect, and exactly what happens when you let money cloud your judgment. In many ways, Carson became a folk hero to regular guys who have found themselves in similar situations, men who step up for women and children only to be played the moment the biological father decides he wants back in the picture. What's truly striking about this entire ordeal is how it revealed the toxic cycle these high-level industry relationships operate on. Moneybagg Yo and Ari Fletcher seem to have an arrangement where they both move loosely, but as long as the check's clear and the luxury gifts keep coming, they maintain their public image. Meanwhile, innocent people like Carson and that little girl are the ones who get caught in the crossfire of their dysfunction. Since then, multiple relationship experts and social media influencers have used this situation as a textbook example of what to avoid in modern dating. Ultimately, the story serves as a major cautionary tale about the risks of getting involved with people who have messy baby daddy situations and unresolved feelings. Today, in 2026, Carson has clearly moved on to a life that actually values his loyalty. His social media shows him staying focused on his business ventures and traveling, wisely keeping himself far away from the drama. It's been a smart move for him. His Puppy Made app even saw a surge in users following the incident, as people genuinely respected how he handled himself during the confrontation. That's for Ouch Bossy. Her current situation is much more unstable. Word on the street is that she's been struggling without Carson's financial backing. That lifestyle of luxury doesn't tend to last long when you burn the bridges that provide it. Multiple reports suggest she eventually had to move back in with family, and her daughter had to be pulled from that elite private school because the tuition was no longer being covered. In all of this, the little girl is the true victim. She went from having a stable father figure who is actively investing in her education and future to being back in a volatile environment. All because the adults around her couldn't get their act together. That sense of security and the home environment Carson built simply vanished, and she lost a guardian who genuinely cared for her well-being. Meanwhile, Moneybagg Yo and Ari Fletcher are still locked in their public cycle, constantly buying each other expensive gifts for the gram, and, if the rumors are true, still dealing with the same issues behind the scenes. Some cycles are just hard to break, especially when both parties benefit from the attention and the brand that the dysfunction creates. Ultimately, the hit to Moneybagg Yo's street credibility was permanent. In hip-hop circles, the phrase needing police protection to leave became a recurring joke, often brought up in interviews and song lyrics to mock his persona. No matter how much money he makes, that specific moment of needing a police escort to exit another man's home remains a stain on his reputation. For many, this incident highlighted a much deeper issue in modern relationships that goes far beyond celebrity gossip. It forced people to ask, when did it become acceptable to fund a partner's entire lifestyle while they openly disrespect you with an ex? And when did a grown man, one who markets himself as tough, need the authorities to settle a face-to-face confrontation? Carson's story resonated with millions because he represents the good guy who stepped up for a single mother and her child, only to be betrayed for a man who wasn't handling his business in the first place. The comment sections were filled with regular men sharing similar experiences, proving that this dynamic is more common than people think. Even Ari Fletcher's brand took a hit, as fans began to question the character of the man she chooses to stand by. It's a messy reminder that while money can buy luxury, it clearly can't buy respect or maturity. If he's this disrespectful to a man who is actively raising his own child, it makes you wonder what really goes on behind closed doors in his other relationships. Domestic violence advocates have pointed out some concerning patterns here, avoiding direct communication, letting others fight his battles, and creating chaotic environments that put everyone at risk. However, the most lasting impact of this situation might be how it changed social media accountability. Carson didn't just vent to his friends. He brought receipts. By posting bank statements and clear evidence, he forced the world to see the truth for themselves. That level of transparency is becoming the new standard for anyone being played in a relationship. At the end of the day, this entire mess proved that having money doesn't automatically make you a good father, a loyal partner, or a respectable person. Moneybagg Yo has the fame and the resources, yet he struggled with basic respect and responsibility. On the other hand, Carson might not be a famous rapper, but he was doing exactly what a real man is supposed to do, providing, protecting, and being present. The culture learned that real recognizes real, and sometimes, the man without the fame is far more solid than the one with all the clout and followers. Carson's actions demonstrated what genuine care looks like, while Moneybagg Yo's response was a clear example of how weak behavior manifests when someone is caught in their own lies. Looking back at this situation, it perfectly summarizes everything wrong with how certain industry figures operate. They want all the perks, multiple women, street credibility, and fan respect, but none of the actual responsibility that comes with being a man and a father. This situation also highlighted the massive pressure social media places on these dynamics. Instead of being handled privately, every detail becomes content for blogs and gossip pages, making it nearly impossible for anyone to move on without a public spectacle. At the end of the day, Carson deserved much better treatment. That little girl deserves stability, and honestly, even Ari Fletcher deserves better than being with someone who treats people with such blatant disrespect. But until people start demanding genuine respect instead of accepting expensive apologies, these toxic cycles will continue to repeat in celebrity culture and everyday relationships alike. This story has it all: money, betrayal, police involvement, social media warfare, and real-world consequences for fake behavior. It serves as a powerful reminder that character matters far more than clout. Eventually, your actions catch up with you, regardless of your fame or status. The internet doesn't forget, and the streets don't forgive.